Hello, I'm Keith Hilson with the Schmidt Music Trombone Shop, back with another daily practice tip for you. And today we have part two of my series on warming up and different concepts of warming up. Specifically today, I want to talk about variation, variety, and warming up. One of the big things that brought along this conversation in the first place is a lot of folks reaching out to me and saying, when I'm going through and practicing and warming up, it's getting to be a grind. It feels like it's the same thing day after day. How do I change that so it doesn't feel like I'm having to work when I'm playing? And so, in other words, I'm enjoying what I'm playing. So I've certainly been in that boat before, in terms of especially having a warm-up routine or a practice routine that was just the same thing day after day after day. And what that meant for me, and I'll talk about this in the next video as well, is I wasn't engaged in what I was playing and what I was doing. It became a grind. And so instead, I started to think about my warming up and what I do with warming up. And I figured out that, at least for me, it's not so much about the specific exercises when I'm going through my warm-up routine. So wait, you're saying, okay, so you have a warm-up routine, but you're not doing the same exercises every day. How is that a routine? Well, the routine is not the specific exercises. Instead, it's the underlying concept. It's the idea that we have these foundational ideas that we want to work on, that every day I come and saying, here are basic ideas I want to make sure that are working for me, that I'm thinking about, to make sure that once I have this foundation laid, then I can continue to build my playing on top of them. Now, for me, it's not always the specific exercises that make the difference. It's the concept. So, for example, my routine, so to speak, is going to be breathing, warming up, flexibility, whether it's range flexibility, expanding the ranges outwards, and starting to actually do flexibility like lip slurs through the different registers, scales, which include articulation and technique, slide technique, and then finally legato phrasing. So within each one of those ideas, I'm not always doing the same exact exercises every day. So when it comes to breathing, every morning I will go through and stretch, but I may do slightly different stretches, but I'm still thinking about the same concepts, how I'm preparing my body to start breathing. And there are, of course, any number of really great, resources out there for them. The Breathing Gym, I've seen multiple master classes from the great tubist Oystein Bodsvik I've taken a lot of ideas from, and many of others as well. So I'm taking inspiration from different places, but they're all going towards that same foundational concept: breathing, preparing my body to breathe, and practicing that breathing. Long tones. The big concept behind long tones for me is taking that air and turning it into sound and trying to create the best, most beautiful sound that I can. Does that mean I have to do the same exact long tones every day? No. In fact, I try to actively change them up so that I'm keeping myself engaged in that process. So one day I might do long tones and just play, for example, going through the circle of fourths or circle of fifths, playing F to B flat to E flat, so on and so forth. The next day I might play with drones. The next day I might go along and honestly put on like a jazz play along or a funk play along, and I'm playing long tones over the top of them. The next day I might do Remington long tones, and so on and so forth there. So I'm changing it up. I'm working on these concepts in different ways, but it's always the same foundation I'm working on. Then we're going into flexibility, working on expanding the ranges. I have a few exercises in there I do kind of day in, day out, and then there are exercises I change up. Lip slurs, I try to change up quite a bit so that I'm thinking about the same ideas, but I'm working on them in different ways, and so on and so forth. With my legato phrasing concepts, there are a lot of days I will pull up my classic Rochu book just to work on musicality and making sure I'm getting the legato connection that I want to have. But not always. I'll go to other resources as well. Or maybe I'm looking at different variations of the Rochus instead. Maybe I'll pull out the actual original, vocalises to look at them and be working with the piano part and analyzing that while I'm playing, instead of just playing, the classic Bordoni version, Rochu version of it. So whatever it might be, having that variation in my warm-up routine makes a huge difference. It keeps myself engaged mentally. It keeps myself interested, but I'm also always working on these same foundations, and these foundations are what work for me, and I will change it up. There's a new concept that comes along, a different way to thinking about one of these foundations, then I'm going to include that in my routine. Maybe I take something and put it in. Maybe I take something else and take it out. but it's always supporting that foundation, and again, it's keeping me engaged. So I would encourage you, if you don't already, maybe think about adding some variation into your routine, but using that variation as a way to keep supporting those foundational concepts. It's not just change for change's sake, but it's change with a specific purpose in mind. So, as always, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any thoughts, questions about what you saw today, or if you have thoughts about what you've done with your own warm-up routine, ways that you've changed it up, that you try to innovate what you're doing, please feel free to leave them. Our community here would love to hear about that. Of course, you can check out all of our other daily practice tips on our channel here as well as checking out all of everything else we have on our YouTube channel. If you haven't already, think about subscribing to that, or check out our Facebook page as well. Please think about joining us on there as well. And of course, you can always find us on Instagram as well. So thanks for watching. Happy practicing, and please keep making music.